Good morning, venture capital. This is Metagame, and today's episode is about cracking the code on the massive $22 trillion venture capital landscape. From Q4 and revealing who's really dominating the power rankings. 483 deals. That's it. 483 deals captured 69% of all capital deployed in Q4. Not 69% of deals, 69% of $2.18 trillion. Let that sink in for a second. While everyone's out there celebrating deal flow metrics and patting themselves on the back for staying active, less than 10% of the market is eating everyone else's lunch. And if you're still running your portfolio, like it's 2021, you're not just behind. You're playing a game that doesn't exist anymore. Here's what Q4 actually looked like. Deal count ticked up 2%, nearly 5,000 transactions. Sounds healthy, right? Sounds like the market's humming along, except total capital deployed dropped $130 billion from Q3. That's a 5.7% contraction while everyone was busy doing more deals. You know what that means? It means investors spread their activity across more opportunities while writing smaller checks. It's caution wearing a deal flow costume, and most people completely missed it. The average deal size dropped from $479 million to $443 million. That's a $36 million haircut per transaction. Multiply that across 5,000 deals, and you're looking at a massive capital reallocation that happened while everyone was focused on the wrong metrics. But here's where it gets interesting. That compression wasn't uniform. It wasn't some broad market pullback where everyone tightened their belts equally. No. The $500 million to $1 billion bracket surged 8.3%. Meanwhile, the $100 to $250 million range contracted 3.6%. You see what's happening? Capital is sprinting toward late-stage certainty and running away from prove-it rounds. The traditional Series B, Series C zone, where most venture portfolios actually live, that's the squeeze zone now, and it's getting tighter every quarter. Let me paint the picture more clearly. You've got mega deals at the top, 483 of them above $1 billion, commanding $1.5 trillion in aggregate. Each one averaged $3.1 billion. That's not venture capital anymore. That's category creation at scale. That's infrastructure plays and AI platforms and companies that have already proven they can dominate. These deals are reshaping entire sectors while everyone else fights for oxygen. Then you've got seed and Series A at the bottom. Still humming. That 2% deal count increase, most of that's early stage. The bottom of the funnel is still flowing because early stage bets are relatively cheap and the upside math still works. But the middle is getting hit hard. If your portfolio company just closed a Series B and needs a $150 million Series C, I've got bad news. That capital got harder to access in Q4. Not impossible, harder. And harder in venture means some companies make it and some companies don't, regardless of how good their metrics actually are. This is the barbell market forming in real time. Mega deals consolidating at the top, seed activity steady at the bottom, and the middle getting squeezed until it screams. The question isn't whether you're investing. The question is whether you're sized for the market that's actually forming. Now, why is capital concentrating like this? One word, 3 letters, AI. The $200 billion global AI funding wave isn't just a headline. It's the gravitational force pulling capital towards scale. When 67% of enterprises view AI as recession-proof and average AI budgets hit $124 million, investors aren't making speculative bets anymore. They're positioning for a multi-trillion-dollar platform shift, and that positioning requires billion-dollar rounds to compete. Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai. The companies capturing these mega rounds aren't raising because they need the money. They're raising because scale is a competitive weapon. If you're building AI infrastructure or enterprise AI applications, you need massive capital to compete with everyone else who has massive capital. It's an arms race, and the entry fee keeps going up. But here's what most people miss. AI isn't just reshaping one sector, it's reshaping capital allocation philosophy across the entire market. Investors are applying AI-era thinking everywhere now. Fund the likely winners at scale. Be extremely selective everywhere else. That's not just an AI strategy, that's the new default strategy. And it explains why the middle is getting squeezed even in sectors that have nothing to do with artificial intelligence. So what does this mean for you? Let's get tactical. First, honest portfolio construction assessment. Are you positioned for a barbell market or still deploying like capital is uniformly available across the stack? If your fund model depends on Series B and C deployment in that 100 to 250 million range, Q4 just showed you that bracket is under pressure. You need to decide, move upstream into growth equity where the 8.3% surge is happening, or move downstream into earlier stage where deal flow is abundant and pricing might actually be rational. The middle isn't a strategy anymore, it's a trap. Second, underwriting for mega round eligibility. When 2/3 of all capital flows through less than 10% of deals, the power law isn't just portfolio theory, it's market structure. Your winners need paths to billion-dollar rounds, or they'll struggle to access the growth capital they need. Look at your portfolio right now. Which companies are building toward mega round eligibility? Which ones are stuck in the contracting middle? That distinction matters more than it ever has. Third, bridge strategies for the squeeze zone. If you've got companies that need capital in the 100 to 250 million range, start planning now. That means profitability paths. That means positioning for the 500 million plus bracket. That means having real conversations about what happens if the traditional Series C doesn't materialize. The middle options are disappearing, and hope is not a strategy. Fourth, early stage opportunity. If mega deals are potentially overheated and the middle is squeezed, where's the asymmetric opportunity? It's at the bottom. Seed and Series A deployment into companies that can leapfrog to the 500 million plus bracket in 18 to 24 months. That's the arbitrage. Find companies that can skip the squeeze zone entirely. Fifth, secondary market positioning. Companies stuck in the contracting brackets will create liquidity opportunities. If you've got dry powder and patience, Q4's dynamics are setting up next year for selective secondary purchases at rational prices. The squeeze creates sellers. Sellers create opportunity, but only if you're positioned to act. Here's the risk most people aren't seeing. The concentration risk isn't where you think it is. If you're avoiding mega deals because you think they're overpriced, you might be missing that this is where capital availability actually lives. The risk isn't deploying into large rounds. The risk is being stuck with mid-stage companies that can't access growth capital because the market they needed to fund them contracted 3.6% and might contract further.
Oh, hey, friend. Do you like what you're hearing? Now you can have a ridiculously amazing podcast, too. Check out holler.studio to get yourself one today.
Let me bring this back to where we started. 483 deals, 69% of all capital. That's not a statistic. That's a structural shift. The market didn't just have a weird quarter. The market is telling you something about how capital allocation works now. Deal count can rise, capital can contract, and the power law can concentrate harder than anyone thought possible. All at the same time, the firms that recognize this shift in Q4 are already repositioning. They're moving capital toward the brackets that are growing. They're building bridge strategies for portfolio companies in the squeeze zone. They're hunting early-stage opportunities with clear paths to mega-round eligibility. They're getting ready for secondary dislocations. The firms that missed it, they're still celebrating deal flow metrics. They're still running playbooks designed for a market that doesn't exist anymore. They're still assuming capital will be there when their portfolio companies need it. Q4 gave us the data. Nearly 5,000 deals, $2.18 trillion deployed, $130 billion contraction, a $36 million haircut per average deal, an 8.3% surge in the upper bracket, a 3.6% contraction in the middle, and 483 megadeals capturing 69% of everything. The barbell market is here. The only question left is which end you're positioned for. Or if you're stuck in the middle, watching capital flow around you in both directions while you figure out what happened. That's our Venture Capital podcast for today. If you learned something new, tap 5 stars and follow our show. Thank you for listening to Metagame.
Grep News. Thomas.